President Trump on Wednesday once again tried to deflect the Ukraine whistleblower scandal to former Vice President Joe Biden.
And let me tell you something. Biden's son is corrupt, and Biden is corrupt. And I'd rather run against Biden than almost any of those candidates, and I think they're all weak. But I think Biden has never been a smart guy, and he's less smart now than he ever was.
TJ Ducklo is National Press Secretary for the Biden campaign. It is rolling out a new plan to end gun violence in America. And TJ joins me now. TJ, thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I want to get to that plan in just a moment. But first, I do want to ask you about this. The Biden campaign asked several television networks to stop booking President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, because, as the campaign says, he has, quote, demonstrated that he will knowingly and willingly lie in order to advance his own narrative. Now, Giuliani was a guest on Face the Nation on Sunday. What is the Biden campaign's position on the White House's talking points on the Ukraine call controversy?
Well, look, I think that the memo that we sent to network executives on Sunday laid out our reasoning pretty clearly for this. I mean, there comes a time when the responsibility for booking someone who knowingly goes on television to spread lies and to sort of flail about wildly, to peddle in false and debunked conspiracy theories, lies with the media organizations who book them. And look, our campaign has been working very hard to aggressively fact-check all the lies that are coming out of the White House. I mean, these are things that have been looked into by multiple media organizations, a number of fact checkers, all of whom have found zero evidence of any wrongdoing by Vice President Biden or his family. And when media organizations and when news outlets continue to book Rudy Giuliani to peddle those same lies, at some point the responsibility lies with them. So we're going to continue working hard to fact check those things, but we feel like it's a shared responsibility here. And as you mentioned, look, Margaret Brennan did an excellent job fact checking Rudy, I thought, in real time on Sunday. But at some point you have to ask the question: when is too much? When is it too much?
All right, let me turn to this. Former Pennsylvania Governor Ed Rendell said in an interview that Biden's campaign could be, quote, blown up by suspicions over Biden and his son Hunter's dealings with Ukraine. Do you think the former vice president has to explain his son's relationship with the Ukrainian energy company or any foreign company, especially since many Democrats in 2020 are running on fighting corruption?
Well, look, I think that, as I mentioned before, these are allegations that have been looked into by multiple media organizations, by fact checkers, all of whom have found no evidence. And this was addressed in 2014 by the White House ethics, and found that there's no issues there. But like the conversation that we're having right now is exactly what Donald Trump wants us to have. I mean, this is the Donald Trump playbook. Over and over again. He raises these debunked lies, he throws out conspiracy theories, and then you and I talk about it here on television. And the reason for it is simple. He knows that Joe Biden will beat him like a drum next November. And this is not a new phenomenon we're seeing. From the moment that Joe Biden got into this race, Donald Trump has been obsessed with him. A few days after we were in the race, the firefighters endorsed Joe Biden, which prompted a flurry of tweets by Donald Trump. We saw internal polls leak from the Trump administration, from the Trump campaign, showing Joe Biden beating Donald Trump in some of the most important swing states. Soon after that, his pollster was fired. Trump continually brings up Joe Biden in speeches and in press conferences and in gaggles. I mean, the day that Donald Trump called the Ukraine, there was a Fox News poll showing him losing to Joe Biden by 10 points. And the action then he then took later that day was unprecedented, calling a foreign government and asking for help, essentially blackmailing them into trying to find dirt on a political opponent. So let's take a couple steps back and talk about what's really going on here, which is that Donald Trump is afraid. And I will also say, throughout all those attacks by Donald Trump, all of those lies and all of those debunked conspiracy theories, Joe Biden's support has remained unwavering. It's because voters know him, and these lies don't have any traction.
The former vice president has released a plan to end gun violence in America. What can you tell us about that?
Well, this morning, Vice President Biden released his plan to combat the gun violence epidemic, and includes a number of things, a bold, progressive plan. We're talking about closing loopholes on background checks and strengthening those laws, banning assault weapons, banning high-capacity magazines, incentivizing states to pass red flag laws so that when someone is a danger to themselves or others, authorities or their family members can temporarily take away those guns. And this is something that's very personal to the vice president. He knows what it's like to have to deal with, a death in the family, like so many Americans have to deal with at the hands of gun violence. He met with victims families at Sandy Hook in the White House. He went up with Parkland students to the Hill to lobby for gun safety reform. And look, and he's the only candidate in this race. He has a very strong record on this as well. He's the only candidate in this race to take on the NRA twice and win. 1993 Brady background check bill and banning assault weapons the very next year. A lot of people don't realize that assault weapons and high-capacity magazines were banned in this country for a decade, and that was because of Joe Biden. And he'll do it again as president.
TJ Ducklo, I'm afraid we're out of time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.